Author Eric Blehm has written about Afghanistan and a heroic fight over there. The book is called The Only Thing Worth Dying For. Eric, thanks for joining us on the Young Turks.
Jack, I'm stoked to be here. Thank you.
All right. First, just real broad, what's the book about? Tell us the story.
Well, first of all, it's not an analysis of the war by any means, not what's going on now. This is the historical story and of the mission of the team of Special Forces Green Berets who was with Hamid Karzai back right after 9/11, and this is the first time the story's been told that explains what exactly went on. Everybody knows about Karzai now, and they have their preconceptions about him, but nobody truly understands anything more than, hey, we put this guy in power. And so I was able to go to the horse's mouth, and just like you say, I think in your website, you talk about how you have real conversations, deliver the news honestly. We're going to give you what we got. I got to go to the guys that were actually there, talk to 9 of the surviving members of an 11-man A team who was with Karzai during a 3-week period when he rose literally from obscurity. No one ever heard of him on the world stage, really. And during that 3 weeks, every single member of this team was either wounded and or killed. And this is their story.
Well, that is an amazing story. So, first question is, where did Karzai come out of? I mean, why him?
Well, I'll tell you, there were 2 Pashtun that had come back into Afghanistan after 9/11 to try and foment, if you will, rebellion in the south, in the Taliban heartland. As you know, we also supported the Northern Alliance in the north. We went in with about 4 or 5 teams of Green Berets to work with the Northern Alliance to go against the Taliban up in the Shamali Plains region to slowly attempt to liberate the various cities heading south towards Kandahar. Now, this was the one team that went to the south because somewhere during all this, somebody realized we're on a crash course for civil war in this country. And the basic idea, without going into the full historical side of things, is that in the past they knew that if an ethnic minority, either one of the Tajik, the Hazaras, or the Uzbeks, were to be put into power, or at least assisted and put into power by U.S. forces heading south, there's no way that the majority Pashtun would put up with it. It would be civil war just like it was when we abandoned Afghanistan after the Soviets withdrew.
But Eric, I mean, where is Hamid Karzai before the war?
Right.
And why does our Special Forces team decide to go with him into this enemy territory?
He was one of only 2 Pashtun that went into the south on his own right when the bombings began on the 19th of October. Abdul Haq and Hamid Karzai were the 2 Pashtun that went into the south. Again, we supported the Northern Alliance, all the different warlords.
So, but that tells me that he's our guy, because,
no.
I mean, there's like 8 different Pashtuns that could be walking around, but we don't know about him. He happens to hook up with our main guys.
They were the only 2 that had contacted the U.S. We had lost all of our contacts, really. We had to reestablish our contacts in the north, and we had no contacts in the south. Abdul Haq went in, and he was... the CIA wasn't willing to put anybody on the ground with either of these guys. They asked for assistance. They wanted assistance like we were giving the Northern Alliance. They wanted teams on the ground with them. We refused because we said it was too dangerous in the south. What we did give them, we offered them satellite phones. Abdul Haq refused. He said that he thought it would be used in combination with the ISI, the Pakistani intelligence, to track him, and he didn't trust that. Karzai accepted the cell phone, the satellite phone. He went in. Ultimately, he got chased into the mountains north of Kandahar, and he called for help. We extracted him, took him to Pakistan, and that's when we sent this team to meet with him on November 3rd, 2001, at Jalalabad or J-Bad Air Base. No one to this day, until this book came out, could pinpoint exactly where the planning of this insurgency took place, and I actually have a photo, above ground satellite photo of the actual building where they planned the insurgency with this group. Went back into the tribal belt, and Karzai was the one person whose name kept coming up when all this was going on militarily. James Dobbins was kind of working in the background. He had never heard of Karzai. Nobody had ever heard of Karzai, but his was the one name in the region that kept popping up, and people were saying, he's a decent guy. The Northern Alliance said, hey, we would even look at him as a potential leader. Dr. Abdullah Abdul, who recently ran against him, he actually gave his thumbs up towards Karzai back then in 2001. I have the actual exact date when he did that, which oddly was 2 days after Karzai won his first battle with this team of Green Berets. What Karzai had was he had diplomatic clout in the area. He was from a prominent tribe. What he didn't have is any military clout. And in Afghanistan, as we've always heard, respect is earned from a barrel of a gun. And the Northern Alliance wasn't going to back him, wasn't going to say, hey, we'll work with you. But they knew they needed a Pashtun. He had no credibility, though. He wasn't a warrior. He was a guy whose guiding forces in life were Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. And so he was truly not even a wild card. He was an aspiring guerrilla leader that needed support to help the Pashtun rise up.
All right, a couple more questions in that regard then. When he goes into the South, as you described, and Abdul Haq does,
right?
Where do they get fighting forces to fight against the Taliban?
They had none.
So they go there and do what? Sip tea? I don't understand what
they went around the countryside. Abdul Haq brought in about 30 people, and they went around to talk to the different district chiefs and the different mullahs in the different regions to say, hey, we need to rise up. We need to go. The only way the Taliban is going to surrender is to another Pashtun. And they literally had talks, and the people did not trust them. They said, we will not stand behind you. We want the Americans here. We want them behind us, because what you're going to do is they looked actually, it's funny, we were dropping these pamphlets all over saying, rise up against, just like we did against Saddam Hussein with, in the first Gulf War. And then what did we do? We abandoned them, and these people were slaughtered by Saddam Hussein. These people were worried that if they rose up with these statesmen who were, had been exiled by the Taliban, they're not going to survive, because the Americans are going to leave, and they're going to leave them, and then the Taliban were going to come back and retribution slaughter them.
All right, so let's go to the next step. And look, I'm keeping it real. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we had to trust Karzai enough that we gave him a team of Green Berets.
Right.
Okay, so that already distinguishes him from Abdul Haq and others, because he's playing ball a little bit more.
Well, okay. No, actually, Abdul Haq was going to get this same exact team of Green Berets. They were actually training to go join him, but then he got captured and was murdered.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And that's why we have you on, to bring us these details and these facts.
I got to tell you, I went into it with a real open mind, and I was blown away how much of how chanceful and how innocent Karzai coming to power was, and how things just kind of lined up. Because if it weren't for this team going in, he would have never had credibility.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, but you paint this very rosy picture of Hamid Karzai, and we know now that he's, obviously working with his brother, and his brother's one of the biggest drug dealers in Afghanistan. There's tremendous corruption in his government, so he might have come in innocent. I don't know if and I don't know that that's true,
right.
But it doesn't look like he's remained innocent.
Yeah, well, the beauty of this story, and that's why I keep it pure, is I keep it to the perspective of, hey, here's these Americans, these 11 men, they're assigned this mission, they meet this guy, they have the ability to either go in with him or not. They had to judge him and make their own decisions. We're talking junior officers and NCOs. We're talking nobody from the Pentagon. The White House had no idea. I mean, on the day that they were going, day before they were going on the mission, George Tenet's telling George Bush in the White House situation room that they have nothing to put on the table in the South. He was they didn't think anything was going to come of him. He was going to maybe be somebody who would help the forming of the post-Taliban government. But this team went in, and by chance, they won a huge battle that gave him credibility all of a sudden.
So let's talk about that real quick, Eric. We're talking to Eric Blehm. His book is The Only Thing Worth Dying For. So what can 11 Green Berets do? Who did they engage? What happened next?
Well, when they went in, and again, the locals in the Pashtun tribal belt learned that the Americans had come in with Karzai, and this is where the little bit of a gray area. Karzai says that he didn't realize this has happened spontaneously. The Green Berets, as you'll read in the book, kind of have their own thoughts on that. But all of a sudden, the town of Tarankot, rises up against their local Taliban government. They hang the governor of Uruzgan, the Taliban governor, and all of a sudden, this team, who was supposed to remain in hiding and live with the populace and grow a rebellion, less than 24 hours after they're on the ground, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, crap, we're going to have a ton of Taliban coming towards this village because they're going to put down this uprising. It's like they didn't want to go up against it. They didn't want to really stir up any trouble. until they had their forces settled. They only had about 30 guys at that point. And so then all of a sudden from Kandahar comes what was estimated as 500 to 1,000 hardened Taliban to put down this uprising in this village. And this team had a choice. Okay, do we stay in hiding? Do we continue with our plan? Do we abort the mission completely and run because there's no way we're going to go against this big Taliban force? Or we're going to take the fight to the enemy? They decided to take the fight to the enemy. And, of course, with air power, they were able to repel this huge convoy of Taliban coming to, again, put down this uprising in the town of Tarankot. All of a sudden, overnight, Karzai has credibility. He got a phone call before the Northern Alliance wouldn't even talk to him. He gets a congratulations because all of a sudden he's a player. And so these are the moments in this story that no one's ever known about. No one's ever really followed through and learned the history. I mean, as you put it, there's such precious little time. You've said this before on your show that we seldom have time to reflect. And really that's what I tried to do, is I tried to sit down and reflect and show the story from the perspective of these men. I don't want to tell the people what we know now, because what I wanted to do was keep the moment then and show the people what they knew about Karzai at the time, what was going on, and you're able to stay with this team all the way through this historic period when...
Well, Eric, one last question.
Yeah.
So they maintain that town. They don't let the Taliban recapture it. How does it spread from there? What happened next?
From there, it was kind of a steamroller effect, really. The different districts from Uruzgan towards Kandahar started just replacing their flags, and the Americans, this one team from one location in Tarankot, used a whole bunch of techniques that I can't go into as far as with aircraft, but they essentially put on surveillance to protect these different towns that were basically siding behind Karzai all the way to Kandahar. So they moved towards Kandahar. All these rumors were spread out. Again, Karzai's own brother in Pakistan was saying he has thousands of people on his side. The different, the whole idea of legend and mythology of this giant force Karzai was with was spreading, and so they just were happily able to kind of ride in the shroud of this perceived power that Karzai had when he really had less than 300 guys and these 11 men going towards Kandahar. And that's where Mullah Omar said, thinking he has this gigantic force on that side, says, hey, let's talk surrender. And that's what they did. That's when he sent Mullah Buradar out. And honestly, there was battles in between. I'm skipping over a whole lot, but these 11 men truly shaped history just really by chance and by timing and by going with this guy who was a nobody and brought him to power. Now, I'm not saying that Karzai is the wrong guy or the right guy. This isn't an analysis. It's very nonpartisan. I just try and keep the reader in the moment, and you can read through it.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. The book is called The Only Thing Worth Dying For. It's obviously a really interesting story. Eric Blehm's the author. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Hey, I appreciate it very much.